Hi everyone, welcome to Eve Math Tutoring. Today's lesson is on factoring by grouping. So sometimes when you're asked to factor, you might get something like the following. Now over here, if you notice that there is nothing common in all of the terms that you can factor out. However, you may notice that there is a common factor in some of your terms. So what you can do is you can actually group those together and factor out of those. So for example, if you look here, these two have a common factor of a, so I can go ahead and factor it out of those two. And that's because they're all divided by plus or minus. And over here, I notice these two have a common factor of 3, so I can go ahead and factor that out as well. Okay? And then at that point, I see that I've got a common factor here, which is b plus 4, so I can factor that out, and then I'm left with a plus 3. Okay? So that's factoring by grouping. So we can do a few more examples of that. So say we have a to the 3 plus 3a squared plus 4a plus 12. Again, over here I see that I've got a common factor. Now I can factor actually out of the first 3 in a, or I can factor by grouping. So I could factor an a squared here, so the highest thing I could factor out of here would be a squared, these two. So I could group these two together and I would be left with a plus 3. And over here, if I factor these, I could take out a 4 and I'd be left with a plus 3 there. And then I could actually factor out an a plus 3 and then I'd be left with a plus 4. So that would be the factoring by grouping here. Okay, so that's how I would factor that expression right there. Okay, let's do a few more examples. If I wanted to factor something common out of here, I could factor out the x squared out of the first two. I've been left with y squared minus 3. We're going to take out a negative 4, and I'd be left with y squared plus 3 again. And, oh, sorry, that would be minus 3 because it's negative. This one's plus. So at this point, I could factor a y squared minus 3, and I'd be left with x squared minus 4 as my final answer. So the question would be to factor. Okay, so that's also another example of factoring by grouping. Do one more example. So if I was factoring this one, I could take out an x and I'd be left with x plus y. Over here I could factor out a z and I'd be left with x plus y. And then we could factor out the x plus y and then we'd be left with x plus z. So that would be that one there. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of different examples that you can try. So this is factoring by grouping. Okay? Alright, hope you enjoyed.